Okay, now you've got all your bits cut out. The first one we want to deal with is the triangle that we cut for the hood. I've got the cream one here, and I've got the fabric that I chose to use with it. You've got a couple of choices here. You could go the easy route and take an iron-on applique like this one and simply iron it onto the hood. Or if you want to save a bit of money, do something that matches the towel, or just be a bit clever, you can try doing your own iron-on applique. I like to use Steam a Seam 2 when I'm doing applique. It's nice and easy to make the applique work. Just draw around your shape onto the Steam a Seam 2 paper. Cut it around it roughly. You don't want to cut the exact shape at this point. And peel off the side of the Steam a Seam 2 that you haven't drawn on, which leaves the sticky backing that's actually going to stick things together. Pop that down on the back side of your cotton fabric and just press it down. So I've got the Steam a Seam on the back, and I'm just going to press that with my iron. All done. Now you want to cut the shape that you drew on. There we go, all cut out, ready to go. Now's when you peel off the other side of the paper on your Steam a Seam, and you'll find that the Steam a Seam itself is still stuck onto the back there. Take your triangle of hood, remembering that the long side is going to go at the bottom and the two short sides are going to go towards the top point. Place your applique where you want it, nice and centered or off to the side, wherever you think it will look best. And press that down. Now's when we get to go to our sewing machine and actually sew it down. Choose an applique stitch if you've got one, or just use a nice tight zigzag to go around all those edges. Now that you've got your hood all ready to go, it's time to start cutting up some binding. So take your cotton fabric and you're going to need to cut 2-inch strips. Take your hood that you did the applique on earlier and measure across the long side. Add about 1 inch to that measurement. So mine is 17, add 1, makes it 18 inches. Then take one of your 2-inch strips and measure, after cut off the selvage, 18 inches. This is going to be used to bind the bottom of the hood. Fold it in half lengthways and press that down. Now that you've got your strip folded in half, take your hood, find the center of the strip and the center of the hood, and put them together on the wrong side of the hood with the raw edges together. On the wrong side of the hood with those raw edges together. And put a pin in that central spot. Now what you're going to do is sew along that edge a little bit less than 1/4 inch in with just a basting stitch. Okay, so you've sewn down the long side, raw edges together with your binding. Now we're going to turn it round, so first turning it back on itself and then turning it all the way over to the front. Sometimes it helps when you do this to press it. So now you've got it down the front, ready to go. You can also pin this stage or not, as your preference. And we're going to top stitch right along that edge on the front. So now we get our big square that we cut earlier and lay onto it the hood we've just finished. You want to match that top corner and pop a pin in there, and then run your fingers down the side and pop your pin in there. So when you've got that pinned, it's time to bind around the whole tail and bind that into it. So you want to join those with a bias join. So taking the two of them right sides together at right angles and then sewing a diagonal seam across here. So there you've got it seamed down there, and you can just trim off the excess. All set to go. Do that with the other one, and then like we did before to make the binding for the edge of the hood, you're going to press the whole thing down in half. Once you've folded it in half and pressed it, you want to go to the starting end, hold it open again, and then take the left hand side down, take the piece that's in your left hand I should say, down over what's on your right hand and just finger press that angle there. Then get your scissors and trim about 1/4 inch from that finger press so that you've got an angle. What this means is when you come to join the binding together, it won't have a big bulk in one spot. So you can see how that comes over. All set to go. Take your towel and a little way away from the hood, on the back, just like we did with the other binding, you're going to figure out where to start it. Now, you want to go about 3 inches down from that edge that you've created on the binding. Put them with the raw edges together and pin where you're going to start. Then you're going to seam down to the corner and stop about 1/4 inch away from the corner. Once you get down to that 1/4 inch away from the corner, what you're going to want to do, and you can do this with it just sitting in the machine, is take the binding back up so that it's going in the opposite direction to the next side you're going to sew, and it creates a corner like that. Then fold it over itself to go back down where you actually want to sew, and it will look a little bit like that. Down you go, right along to 1/4 inch from the bottom. Right, continue going around using that same technique in the corners. When you get to where the hood is, simply keep going round, just going through one extra piece of fabric. So you've got that hood now fixed on. And when you get round to where you started, all you're going to do is use that little piece that you left at the beginning to tuck your little bit of binding in underneath, and then sew straight down to where you started sewing. And now it's exactly the same as you did for the edge on the hood. You're going to turn it, pressing if it helps you, and sewing it down. When it comes to the corners, you'll find that what you've created when you turn it is something that very naturally wants to fold over and over again into a perfect little corner. Beautiful hooded towel, bound right round the edges, neat and gorgeous.